Parenthood and the Fight Club. Don't worry that children never listen to you. Worry that they are always watching you. Robert Fulghum. (2001). 9 months after Olivier's birth, I was expecting my second child. If Pierre wanted them to play together, I felt it was best that they be close in age. This pregnancy wasn't as easy as my first pregnancy, but I maintained an impressive level of activity. I hired a dive instructor, but I was hands-on in the dive shop and assisting on the boat, and I even found myself floating on the surface with a mask, observing the divers as they practiced their drills in the shallow waters and translating in Spanish when they came to the surface. Every day, I slipped into my trusty blue bathing suit, designed for pregnancy, and I managed the hotel, dive shop, and employees with Olivier in a sling on my hip. The arrival of the internet at our house brought a welcome convenience, allowing me to stay active without needing to make frequent trips to Cox and Hole to manage reservation emails. I was still determined to keep up with my errands, though, even when the trek along the beach to West End became more challenging with the baby in a sling. But I was committed to staying active and taking Olivier with me wherever I went. At the end of each day, I always made a point of slowing my pace at sunset to enjoy some moments on the beach with Olivier. One peaceful evening when I was 8 months pregnant, Pierre joined us and we strolled down to the garden together. I carried Olivier on my hip with one arm and held his shovel and bucket in the other. Pierre took pride in the sturdy, oversized wooden chairs he designed and had crafted by a local carpenter, insisting they would offer a more natural charm than plastic ones. Painted a soft green to blend with the surroundings, the chairs were beautiful, but their weight made them difficult to move. In the middle of the property, I felt the cool breeze brush against my skin and the fine sand felt silky under my bare feet. Pierre sat down on one of the chairs, and I set Olivier down by his feet to play in the sand. I noticed the other chairs had been moved in front of the guest's house. I stood there for a moment taking in the scene. Does he expect me to bring the chair from the other side of the property? I wondered. I went over and began to drag the chair in the sand toward him when he shouted at me loudly, "Don't drag the chair, merde, you're making lines in the sand." What? I looked at him, unsure how to respond. I know that I'm very active, but do you realize that I'm 8 months pregnant? He chuckled to himself without answering. In his younger years with the Maasai hunters in Africa, Pierre watched how the women continued to do everything while they were pregnant. They even popped their babies out in the fields, threw them on their backs, and continued their work. Despite my hurt feelings, I erased the lines in the sand with my foot and sat beside him, trying to find some enjoyment in the moments and push away the loneliness. During my pregnancy, I hadn't received any special treatment from Pierre, and I found myself questioning whether my own behavior had led to this situation, or if his behavior had caused me to react in this way. On the one hand, I wondered if my frustration and distance had pushed him further away, creating a rift between us. On the other hand, I questioned whether his lack of support and understanding had driven me to become defensive and distant. Maybe I created this, I thought to myself, caught in a spiral of self-doubt and uncertainty about which came first, my actions or his. As I tried to understand my relationship, new and unexpected issues arose with my pregnancy. As the birth date approached, I learned that the umbilical cord was bunched up and blocking the birth canal, leading to complications. Each time the baby moved, her pulse dropped because she was cutting off her own oxygen by pushing her head against the umbilical cord. Every week for the last 2 months of my pregnancy, I took the ferry to La Ceiba on the mainland for checkups to ensure the baby was all right. I had a different doctor for my second child in a city closer to the island. I planned to deliver in a public hospital, which was not as good as the private clinic in San Pedro Sula, but I wanted to be closer to the islands. As the due date approached, we moved to La Ceiba to await the birth. I brought Olivier with me and hired a nanny to care for him while I was in the hospital. Despite my desire for a natural childbirth, the doctor warned that due to complications, a caesarean section might be necessary. To avoid any potential drama with the doctor in the birthing room, we hired a nurse to stay with me. She came over to the house when my contractions began, but then the contractions stopped, signaling complications. We quickly rushed to the emergency room. "I don't want a cesarean," I cried in desperation. "The doctor said there's no choice," Pierre told me. "I won't be able to work and care for our babies," I sobbed, feeling a wave of helplessness wash over me. He held my hand tightly. "Don't worry, I'll be there for you," he reassured me. His eyes filled with conviction. After my daughter Emilie was born, I was told I couldn't see her until I could move my toes, and they moved me out of the intensive care unit. The waiting was agonizing. The sterile smell of the hospital, the beeping machines, and the distant chatter of the nurses only heightened my impatience. My body ached and my mind raced with worry. "I want to see Emilie now," I cried to Pierre. After 3 hours, they brought my newborn baby to me. The moment I laid eyes on her, my heart swelled with overwhelming love and relief. However, my joy was short-lived. When not long after, Pierre left me alone in the hospital, saying that he needed to return to care for Olivier. "Why are you leaving so soon, Pierre?" I asked him, my voice tinged with longing for his support. "I can barely stand up to go to the bathroom. I need your help." "I must go cook dinner for Olivier," he answered me, his urgency to leave evident in his hurried movements. "But that is why we hired the nanny," I implored. The public hospital was understaffed, and I spent hours crying alone after Pierre left me on the first night. I just underwent major abdominal surgery, and the pain was overwhelming. I couldn't walk or go to the toilet without support. The room was cold and impersonal, and each minute without my baby felt like an eternity, and I didn't see a nurse for hours. Later, I learned that Pierre had gone out with his French friends to watch Fight Club with Brad Pitt, and that night, the rift in my heart widened a little more. 3 days after Emilie's birth, they released us from the hospital. I could barely walk. Doubled over in pain, I took tiny steps into the local airport, carrying my baby in my arms, with Pierre in the lead, focused on arranging the check-in, and Olivier behind with the nanny. I walked up to the counter, and the agent asked me, "Do you need a wheelchair?" "No, she can walk by herself," Pierre said. I looked at Pierre in astonishment and told the man in a snarky voice, "It's okay, I can walk." I wondered how Pierre could be so clueless with regard to the effects of this major operation on his tough girl. Did he misunderstand the question? I cried to myself inside. When it was time to board the plane, I got up slowly, holding my baby in my arms, doubled over in pain, and began to walk toward the tarmac. Seeing how I was walking, the airport employees rushed to me with a wheelchair on the tarmac. I sat down, and a tormented feeling of relief washed over me as they wheeled me to the airplane.